Hello, everybody. It's Mayor Shelley Brindle. This was supposed to be a Facebook Live session, but in an impeccable quirk of timing, Facebook went down literally 5 minutes before this was supposed to start. So we're moving forward with this session because it's timely and important, and we'll hopefully all of this will see this being recorded. And this is to really discuss the voting process that is underway. There's been a lot of new new enhancements to voting. And I think we just want to make sure that voters are very clear on what's changed and what they need to happen as vote by mail ballots are hitting mailboxes. So with us today is our incredible municipal town clerk, Rowley. And we also have Nicole DiRado, who is the administrator of the Union County Board of Elections. And she's graciously giving us her time today before poll worker training and everything else is going to eat up all of her time. So we're going to start with you, Tara. And I thought maybe you could just talk to people a little bit about what you do and what your role is in the election process, and give us a little information and the insight you might have about Westfield voter information.
So basically, I guess if we want to start with the beginning of the election process, the first thing I do earlier in the year is certify to the county clerk the candidates' offices to be filled for the upcoming primary and general elections. I also certify or recommend to Nicole at the Board of Elections the polling locations for Westfield. People can register to vote through my office, fill their forms out. We can administer that. They go to the Board of Elections, and then I work with Nicole throughout the year, just sorting out any polling location issues, how we're going to deliver election supplies to the poll workers. That's one of our main responsibilities, making sure the poll workers have everything that they need for in voting on election day, returning all of that to Nicole at the end of the night, tallying unofficial results at the end of the night. And then during the day, basically troubleshooting anything that might come up. Someone goes to vote, they're not in the poll book, or maybe there's a technical issue with the machine. Work with Nicole's office or the county clerk's office on those different things that may come up. You never know what might come up the day of.
That's true. And you're like on the ground support for the county. Yeah. And then I often see you at the end of the night with big bags with zips and locks. What is that actually that you've got, and what are you doing with them?
So those are the supply bags for the poll workers. Also, we have the new cartridges for the paper confirmation that with the new machines. That's what those giant bags are. We used to have the poll books, but I won't steal Nicole's thunder on that. She'll get into the change with the poll books for this election. With COVID, health supplies, I mean, you name it.
Anything. Got it.
Nicole, and we help facilitate getting all that to the poll workers and then back to Nicole's office at the end of the night.
So can you tell us about our vote? How many registered voters do we have in Westfield, and how many are vote by mail, if you can share, if you have that information?
So we have about a little over 24,000 registered voters in Westfield, with about 5,000 of them being vote by mail voters. So roughly 20% of the registered voters in Westfield vote by mail at least recently.
And presumably that's gone up exponentially in the last 4 years.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't have the numbers, but but I would say so, because there were some changes with mail.
I've got mine right here. I've been voting by mail ever since, I think it was first implemented with Hurricane Sandy, if I recall right. And I remember it saved me because I was stuck in the city and wouldn't have gotten home in time on election day. And so I was so grateful that we had that option. I stood in line of the county clerk's office and was filling the absentee ballot thing out in front. And I've been using the BBM ever since. I just love the knowing that I'm not reliant on any unforeseen issues happen on election day. So that's great. So Nicole, maybe you could talk a little bit about what's changed this year. I think you have a few slides to share with us, but it has been a little confusing over the last 4 years with VBM and going from, like kind of the opt out, I think that happened during COVID. And so can you talk a little bit about what the VBM process has been and who got VBMs and who didn't anymore after everybody got them last year, and take us through some of the information you have?
Yes, I will. And I will remind you, Mayor, to please make sure you drop your ballot into a Union County ballot drop box.
I just so you know, I live across the street from Union County, so it's a tradition that I take my dogs and we walk over there and take a picture, drop it in, and I track it, the whole thing. So it's been great.
Excellent. And I would just like to say parenthetically that I've known Tara for probably close to 20 years, right, Tara? And she's an amazing public service servant and somebody I really enjoy working with and trust and can rely on, certainly when it comes to the administration of elections. So I do appreciate her partnership in that respect.
I feel the same. Thank you.
So I do have a few slides, and we can talk about all the changes that have been happening over the last couple of years. So first, relative to the vote by mail ballots. Okay, oops. So vote by mail ballots in 2016, legislation was signed that says, it was 2017. Anybody who voted by vote by mail ballot in 2016 in the general election would automatically receive a vote by mail ballot forever unless they opt out in writing. In 2017, that legislation was amended to include anybody who voted in 2016 and 2017 would automatically get a vote by mail ballot unless they opted out. So 2019 and the general election in 2018, we really saw the effects of this statute. We saw increased voter participation with vote by mail ballots, but we also saw a lot of confusion at the polls. Voters didn't understand that if they received a vote by mail ballot, they could not vote on a machine on election day. So anybody who does receive a vote by mail ballot, vote your ballot. Otherwise, you're going to be asked to vote a provisional ballot at the polling place on election day. And that holds true if you go to an early voting site in Union County. Can you see this?
I think I see I don't see the, oh yeah, there we go.
Did I share it properly? Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So going back to vote by mail ballots, as Tara said, about 20% of Westfield voters are voting by mail already. Since that option to receive a vote by mail ballot was added to the the voter registration form, we've seen that number increase.
Out of curiosity, Nicole, what is that? How does that compare like countywide? Is 20% pretty standard, or are we high, low?
So we have about 363,000 vote by mail, 363,000 registered voters in Union County, and just under 40,000, I believe, are on the it's called the All Future Elections list. So
that would be the VBM list.
Yes, ma'am.
So 20% is relatively high then relative to the county.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
So anybody still wishing to vote by mail, if you're going to request a vote by mail ballot by mail, you have to do so by October 26th. That application has to be in the county clerk's office by October 26th. This gives that office an opportunity to prepare, mail the ballot, and have the voter mail it back if they desire. So that's that deadline, very important. Anybody wishing to request one in person can do so up until the day before election at 3 p.m. And that includes messenger ballots. So for example, if you have an elderly parent at home and they want to vote by mail, they can complete an application and authorize a family member or a friend to go pick up their ballot and bring it back to them.
So if you get your VBM request into the county clerk's office by October 26th, they will mail it out to you.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. And if a voter has already received their vote by mail ballot, they'll be issued a provisional ballot if they go to the polls either in early voting or on election day. I would caution voters. Recent news stories have indicated that a change in process at the U.S. Postal Service will delay first-class mail. And that's just happening nationally. But we heard on Friday that due to Hurricane Ida, there was significant damage at our Kearney hub, which may very well affect mail coming into our office here in Elizabeth. So I encourage our voters to use our drop boxes, and here they are. Last year, during the COVID elections, the governor signed executive orders stating that every eligible voter would automatically receive a vote by mail ballot, and they charged the election boards with installing between 3 and 10, depending on your registration size, vote by mail ballot secure drop boxes. Union County installed a total of 24 just prior to the 2020 general election. So we have one in every town. We have a second one in Elizabeth in front of my office, as well as the county administration building. We have a second one in Cranford at the Union County College, and a second one in Union at Kane University. So it was really important to us and our board that we made the drop-off process as seamless as possible for our constituents when everything was already so confusing last year.
And this is where Westfield is very lucky for having the Fraser building. I mean, everybody's familiar with it. We've gone to it many times for passports and other things. So it's good.
And it was perfect in that if a voter went in person, or still does go in person to get their vote by mail ballot, they can deposit their ballot right there.
Right there. Exactly. And Nicole, just to recap something you said earlier, because I have actually gotten this question. So if I get a VBM, a vote by mail ballot, and I want to go on the machine and I want to go early, under no circumstances, if you get a vote by mail ballot, are you able to use the machine? Is that a correct statement?
Well, here's the thing, Mayor. For early voting, voters will be voting provisionally on the voting machine. And I can explain that process in a moment. But if they go on election day, they will be voting on a paper provisional ballot.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
Okay. So we can go back to early voting. So this year, the governor signed legislation that initiates, or the first time, the inaugural early voting period in New Jersey, which I think is outstanding. When we see other states trying to curb voters' rights, we are expanding voters' rights here in New Jersey. So early voting starts October 23rd. That's a Saturday, and it goes for 9 days. So it goes right up until the 31st. Monday through Saturday, we're going to vote from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Sundays, voting is available from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have 7 early voting locations in Union County. The closest one, or perhaps the most convenient to Westfield, might be either Cranford at Union County College at the Commons, the Student Commons Center, or New Providence at the Municipal Building. The gymnasium is located off the Academy Street entrance. So we have 7 geographically located throughout the county. So, I on my lunch hour, I don't live in Elizabeth, but on my lunch hour, I can easily go vote in the Elizabeth location. So that's the exciting thing, is that any registered voter in Union County can visit any one of the early voting sites countywide to vote. The voting machines will be able to accommodate any ballot style. So like I said, I live in Mountainside, but I can go to my Elizabeth early voting site, and my ballot will reflect, once I activate the machine, will reflect my particular ballot. There's a lot of checks and balances involved to make sure that people don't vote twice. And in order to do that, we are starting with the use of electronic poll books. So you're going to see electronic poll books both at early voting and on election day. So at early voting, all of the early voting sites will be connected on a secure wireless network, so that if I do go vote in Elizabeth, I can't go try and vote in New Providence later that evening. My having checked in will automatically be registered on the secure network, so I cannot go vote somewhere else. Likewise, I cannot go to the county clerk's office and request a vote by mail ballot because I've already voted. And conversely, if I go to the county clerk's office and request a vote by mail ballot, she will update the system to reflect that I was issued a vote by mail ballot. When the voter,
Basically, when a voter goes in and checks, so no longer are you signing in the book, is that right?
correct,
Okay, so this is what and then is this what triggers then the ballot you see when you go into the voting booth? This information is and triggers that, I presume.
yes, ma'am. So if you look where my cursor is right here,
Yeah.
right, the poll worker is going to start typing in the last couple of letters of your first name, the last couple of letters, your last name, your first name, and a list of voters will populate. So SMI may bring up, 50 Smiths, but if we start putting in your first name and DOB, if we have to, it narrows the search, much like a Google search. You see the voters here are in red, yellow, and green. So green means you can go ahead and you can vote on that machine. Yellow means the poll worker needs to get a little bit more information, perhaps a piece of mail bounced back to our office and we need the voter to confirm they still live there, for example. Red means you are issued a provisional ballot. You cannot vote on the voting machine where your vote will count. So what will happen is, at this point now, the neck of the EPB, so now the voter has found you, right, Mayor? And the neck of the electronic poll book swivels, and we're going to turn the screen to the voter, and the voter is going to sign their name. And on the next screen is where the poll worker does their signature comparison. Now, poll workers are going to be trained, of course, that look, they're using a stylus. It's not going to be exact, but it will be similar. So to look for similarities in the signature. Voters rather are cautioned to make sure that you do try and take your time signing and that it's as close to your signature as possible. We will be providing disposable stylus to, as a health measure. So here, processing, this is the printed ballot card. And I think it's important for voters to understand that there is no identifiable information in this barcode. The only thing this barcode will tell the voting machine is what ballot style to populate for you. So like I said, if I go to Elizabeth, it has to bring up my Mountainside ballot. Our voting machines, which as you know, we transitioned in 2018 in Westfield, our voting machines can accommodate over 4,000 ballot styles. So every ballot style will be on here. However, we talked about the provisional voter in early voting. If we have a provisional voter in early voting, this little box here by the P, this will be filled in. The voter will be given their ballot card with the P box filled in. They will be issued the provisional ballot envelope. And when they go to vote on the machine, once they go to print their ballot card, it will be ejected from the machine. So that vote will not count on the machine.
On the electronic vote.
Correct. It does not, the public count does not advance. It is purely a marking device.
Interesting.
The voter will then fold it, put it in the envelope, complete the affirmation statement, and hand it back to the poll worker.
So Nicole, a couple of questions. I think Westfield, if I remember right, we were one of the first to try out the new voting machines, right? One of the test markets.
Yes.
And there were some issues with paper jams and things like that. Have those types of things been rectified?
They have been, yes, they have been. We've made some adjustments in our training and in our process that has smoothed out that process. The next primary, because yes, Westfield was the pilot in 2018, the general
Yes.
election. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yes, the next election was seamless, and elections are not perfect. We're going to have our little issues at the polling places, which is why you have a real pilot and try and minimize them on election day. And to that end, the majority of issues that we do see are human error. So the machines are working the way they're supposed to. The machines are tallying the votes and recording the votes the way they're supposed to. So human error we can correct with training and voter outreach.
Now the new electronic poll book, have they been tested anywhere? And do you worry about any issues with them on the first day, or first election, I should say?
So we did just recently have a special school board election in Rowley, and the response from the poll workers and the voters was overwhelmingly positive. That being said, we had 8 polling locations, and myself included, I had 8 staff members stay at every voting location all day long. So it was a very sterile environment, but we used that as an opportunity to tweak our training. So we knew which issues might come up and how to address them when we start training our election day poll workers. So yes, I anticipate issues. I ask our voters to please be patient. This is new technology, and our poll workers are just going to start getting trained on it this week.
All right, so not to jinx it, but what have you contemplated? Like, you're on this, secure wireless network. Have you contemplated what if the network goes down, just like what we're experiencing with Facebook right now?
So during early voting, we are connected to the state's, it's called FirstNet, and it's a wireless, it's a network provider for first responders. And because elections is considered critical infrastructure, we can piggyback off their network. So for early voting, FirstNet is charged with making sure each one of our early voting sites is up the entire early voting time.
Got it.
For election day, we are issuing Nighthawks, which is basically like a MiFi device. It's a portable wireless device for each polling location. FirstNet conducted a high-level assessment for each of our polling places to ensure connectivity. And the only thing we need to do on election day is an initial download to the electronic poll book. So between the time the poll books are packed to be transported and election day, people will have voted an early voting site, or they would have requested a vote by mail ballot. So it's really important on election day morning that the poll workers connect to that wireless device, download the file onto the electronic poll book, and then if they don't connect for the rest of the day, that's fine.
Right.
The only thing means that we won't know what turnout is at that particular location. But the initial download is what's important to make sure that voters don't try and vote twice.
Got it. Okay, so what's the most important for people to remember? So if you have a vote by mail ballot, fill it out ASAP and drop it off at a secure ballot location. For us in Westfield, it seems like the most convenient one is at the Fraser building, but there's lots of options, and do that. And we can, and the whole tracking the ballot is still worked beautifully last time. So you can track your ballot and make sure it got opened. Now, if someone has an EVM but they want to vote in person, can they take their ballot with them and hand it over personally to a poll worker, or at that point is it just has to be a provisional ballot on election day?
It will have to be a provisional ballot. Poll workers are not They cannot touch a vote by mail
Except
ballot.
that vote. And when do the secure lock boxes shut down? Like
Secure lock boxes close at 8 o'clock on election night. If there so happens to be a line at 8 o'clock, the line is cut off at 8 and everybody before that person can deposit their ballot. But they are picked up every day by our team. We have 2 teams that go out every day. They're picked up every day. They're under 24/7 camera surveillance. And I encourage our voters, our vote by mail voters, to bring their ballot to a drop box.
And sooner rather than later, just to make sure. So,
Yes.
That's great. I don't know, Kim, I know we're not live. I just didn't know if there's any comments or questions that we should be addressing that maybe we didn't cover.
I don't believe so, Mayor. I haven't seen any come in through the email link. We do have a message up there for folks that this has been recorded and we can take questions afterwards. And we'll of course post this presentation.
Yeah, presentation is great. Tara, is there any other comments or feedback we should give the public just to make them, advice you could give them about voting and the process?
They're welcome to call my office or go on our website at westfieldnj.gov. We have all the polling locations in Westfield. They have gone back to the normal locations. Prior to COVID, they were, reduced to only 4 locations, but we're back to our regular 6 to 8 locations. And just give us a call, go on our website. Also, obviously, Nicole's website has a great deal of information too, but we're happy to talk to anybody who'd rather just give us a call and speak to someone.
And Tara, that's a good reminder. So all your polling locations that you got accustomed to pre-COVID exist today. The only thing that's different, if you want to vote early from October 23rd to October 31st, our closest polling location to do that is at Union County College.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think we got it. And Union County Votes is a great app. I look at it, use it regularly, and I just really encourage everyone to get their vote in and make sure that your vote is counted. And I just echo what you said, Nicole, originally about Tara. Not only is she fantastic administering elections, she's just a fantastic administering everything. And we're really fortunate to have her here in Westfield. So, thank you for joining us, Nicole and Tara.
Thank you for having me, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yeah, wishing us all a smooth election.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.